You're standing in a Celtic temple on the outskirts of the Roman Empire, your sword trembling in your hand. The walls around you are decorated with severed human heads, fresh ones, still dripping. Children are laughing and playing beneath them, like it's perfectly normal. The sweet stench of rotting flesh fills your nostrils. But that's not even close to the worst part. In the centre of the temple, there's a massive wooden statue shaped like a man, 30 feet tall, woven from branches, and it's screaming because, packed inside its arms and legs and torso, are living human beings, and the whole thing is on fire. You've seen gladiators torn apart by wild animals. You've witnessed thousands crucified along Roman roads. But this, what you're about to witness, will crack something deep inside your mind. Something that will never heal properly again. And this burning giant, he's only number 5 on our list. Tonight you're going to learn about 10 ways to die that was so brutal, so twisted, you'll have trouble sleeping for a week. Rituals involving poets who could literally kill you with words. Sacred wells where children were thrown alive to drown slowly while entire villages cheered. No wonder they never taught you this in school. Some truths are too dangerous for textbooks. You're brave enough to uncover these forbidden secrets. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Drop a comment with your location and the time. I love knowing we're exploring these dark truths together from all corners of the world, especially those of you listening alone at night. Once you understand what really happened in those sacred groves, you'll never look at ancient Britain the same way again.
You're lying in your hut on a cold British night when you hear it, your name being chanted outside, in rhymes. Your heart starts hammering against your ribs, but that's just the beginning. The poet's voice weaves syllables together like a noose around your soul. Each verse tightens around your chest. But it's not just your breathing that changes, it's your skin. Blisters are already forming on your cheeks, angry red welts that burn like brands. This is the most terrifying weapon in Roman Britain. Poetry that doesn't just kill, it rots you alive from the outside in. In Celtic Ireland and Wales, poets wielded something called the glamdisen, a form of satire so powerful it was considered black magic. Think of it as history's most deadly rap battle, except the loser doesn't just lose credibility, they lose their face, literally. First come the blisters of shame, spreading across your face and neck. Red, weeping sores that mark you as someone who's been publicly destroyed. Your skin begins to rot while you're still breathing, the flesh turning black with gangrene, as the magical infection spreads like poetry's own leprosy. In Celtic culture, the word for face and honour were identical, enek. When the satirical curse destroyed your face with festering sores, it was literally eating away your soul, your social standing, your very identity as a human being. Ancient Irish texts describe victims whose faces became so disfigured by satirical blisters that their own families couldn't recognise them. Children would run screaming from parents whose skin had been turned into a landscape of oozing craters by a poet's perfectly crafted insults. The process could take weeks. You'd feel the first blisters forming as the poet chanted, small pustules that itched and burned. Over the following days, they'd spread and deepen, becoming infected craters that wept yellow pus. The smell of your own rotting face would follow you everywhere, sweet and sick, like flowers growing on a grave. No herbs could help. No prayers could stop it. Your wife won't look at you. Your children hide behind their mother's skirts. Dogs that once knew you now bare their teeth and growl. One manuscript describes the practice of rat rhyming, poets reciting verses that could make rodents drop dead instantly, their tiny hearts simply stopping mid-beat. Shakespeare himself referenced this terrifying practice in As You Like It, proof that the fear of death by poetry haunted Europe for over 1,000 years. Celtic warriors would rather face an army than anger a poet, because armies could only destroy your body. Poets could annihilate your soul, condemn your spirit to eternal suffering, and ensure your name was cursed for generations while your face melted off your skull like wax near a flame. The Romans never recorded the actual death verses. Too dangerous to preserve, they said. Or maybe they were just afraid that writing them down might activate the curse. But if you think death by poetry is disturbing, wait until you see what they did with the heads afterward. Because the next horror will make rotting faces and gangrenous blisters look like a gentle mercy. You push open the temple doors, and the first thing that hits you isn't the sight, it's the smell. Sweet, rotting, thick in your throat like spoiled meat left in summer heat. Then your eyes adjust to the darkness, and you see them. Rows of human heads staring at you, their eye sockets empty, their mouths hanging open in eternal screams. A little girl, maybe 5 years old, reaches up to pat grandfather's severed head like it's a beloved pet. Her mother smiles approvingly while nursing a baby, completely unbothered by the strips of flesh still hanging from the skull above her. This is a Celtic holy place, where severed heads aren't trophies, they're family members who never quite left. These aren't ancient, cleaned skulls from forgotten wars. These are fresh. Some still have clumps of hair, matted with blood that dried just yesterday. Celtic warriors would carefully select the finest heads, usually enemy chieftains or renowned fighters. The decapitation had to be precise, preserving as much of the neck as possible. Then came the preservation process that would make modern morticians lose their lunch. They'd slowly peel away the skin, working with small bronze knives to avoid damaging the underlying bone. Every strip of flesh had to come away clean. The brain was scooped out through the nose with long metal spoons. You could hear it making wet, sucking sounds as it came free. Or they'd drill through the base of the skull, letting gravity do the work, while the head hung upside down for days. Sacred herbs, rowan berries, mistletoe, oak bark were packed into the empty skull cavity. Not to honour the dead, but to slow the stench enough that families could live with their trophies. Some heads were boiled in sacred cauldrons until the flesh fell away in greasy chunks that floated to the surface like a nightmare soup. The Celtic women would skim off the fat to use in protective ointments. Nothing protected a warrior like the rendered fat of his enemies. Others were smoked over fires of aromatic wood, the process taking weeks as the features slowly mummified into permanent expressions of whatever they felt in their last moments, usually terror. But here's what really breaks your Roman mind: the daily interaction. Celtic families would hold actual conversations with their collection of severed heads, asking for advice about harvests, marriages, battle tactics. Children grew up thinking it was perfectly normal to kiss Daddy's collection goodnight, their little lips touching the preserved flesh of decapitated enemies. "Did you have good dreams, grandfather?" the little girl asks the head, and her mother nods approvingly when the child interprets the skull's silence as wisdom. When Roman soldiers first entered these temples, hardened veterans who'd seen every horror of war fell to their knees vomiting. One centurion wrote home, "I have looked into the face of hell, and it has empty eye sockets staring back." The children here play among the dead like Roman children play with wooden toys. But collecting heads was practically civilized compared to the next horror. Because to understand true Celtic devotion, you need to see what happened when they threw their own children to the gods. You're being dragged toward the edge of a deep, dark, ancient well, and you hear something that makes your blood freeze, screaming from below. Not wind, not animals. The last person they threw down there, their voice echoing off stone walls 100 feet down. Your Celtic captors grip your arms as you struggle, their faces painted with sacred spirals. Behind you, The entire village has gathered to watch. Children perch on their parents' shoulders for a better view. The Celts believed in an underwater otherworld, a realm of gods and spirits that could be reached through sacred wells and springs. To communicate with these divine powers, to ask for healing or favour, you had to send a messenger. And that messenger had to arrive alive, conscious, suffering. The gods only listened to screams. You're stripped naked and painted with sacred symbols. Blue spirals across your chest that burn like acid. Animal totems on your arms drawn in human blood, probably from the last messenger. Religious verses written in Celtic script across your back, with a paste made from ground bones and burial herbs. The ceremony isn't quick. They don't just throw you in and walk away. The community needs to witness your suffering, because your agony is the active ingredient in their cure. A child is dying of fever, little girl, maybe 7, same age as your daughter back in Rome. The parents have tried everything, herbs, prayers that lasted days. They even offered their best cattle. Nothing worked, so now they're offering you. You're lowered slowly into the freezing water, rope around your waist, while hundreds of voices chant above. The cold hits like 1,000 needles, piercing your skin simultaneously. Your body goes into shock, muscles seizing, lungs refusing to work properly. But they don't let you sink. Not yet. They want you conscious, aware, suffering for as long as possible. Above you, mothers hold sick children over the well's edge, letting them breathe in your terror. They believe your death cries carry healing power. The louder you scream, the more effective the cure. One woman actually shouts down, "Louder! My son needs you to scream louder!" Sometimes they add iron weights to your ankles. You sink faster, but die slower, the pressure crushing your chest while water floods your lungs. Sometimes they tie your hands behind your back and let you thrash like a worm on a hook. But the cruelest method is the partial drowning. They lower you until your head goes under, counting slowly to 50, then pull you back up just before you lose consciousness. You vomit water and bile while the crowd cheers. Then down again, up again. Each time you surface, you see that sick little girl watching with fever-bright eyes, waiting for your suffering to cure her. After the 5th or 6th dunking, your lungs start to fill with blood from ruptured vessels. You're drowning in your own blood while drowning in water, a double death that can last for hours. But if you think dying slowly in a well is bad, wait until you see what happened on the island where screaming was considered music and disembowelment was considered conversation with the gods. You're standing on the shores of Anglesey Island, and the smell hits you. Sweet, cloying, thick enough to coat your throat. The stench of human blood mixed with burning flesh. This is Mona, the island the Romans called Hell's Gateway. It's Samhain, the most sacred night of the Celtic year, and the Druids have been preparing for months. Prisoners from 12 tribes have been gathered, sorted and assigned to different gods based on how they all die. The tall ones for hanging. Their height brings them closer to sky gods. The beautiful ones for burning. Their perfection makes better smoke. The strong ones for the ritual disembowelment. Their organs tell better futures. The Druids have prepared you for something they call divine consultation. Your naked body is painted with sacred symbols, but the paint can't hide your shaking. Behind you, a Druid whispers, "Your entrails will tell us if Rome falls this winter." The ceremony begins at sunset. Women in black robes, their faces painted white as bone, their hair matted with human blood that's been mixed with tree sap to make it stay. They raise their arms to the darkening sky and begin the death chant. You watch as a line of victims is led toward the sacred grove, men, women, children, all naked and painted with prophecies. Their faces aren't terrified. They're drugged with a cocktail of mushrooms and herbs that makes death seem like a doorway. Their pupils are black plates. Some are laughing. One woman is trying to dance, but her legs won't work properly. A man keeps asking when he gets to meet the gods, not understanding he's about to be the message, not the messenger. They tie victims to the oak branches, using the trees as natural torture devices. But instead of nails, they use living vines that have been trained for years to grow in specific patterns. The vines wrap around limbs and constrict slowly, taking days to crush bones. The trees literally eat the sacrifice, feeding on human blood that seeps into the bark. In another grove, branches have been woven into human-sized cages where victims are imprisoned while trained ravens peck out their eyes, their tongues, their lips, any soft tissue they can reach. Children as young as 5 are selected for special honour. Their innocent blood is considered premium quality. You watch a Celtic mother kiss her son goodbye and push him toward the Druids herself. She's not crying, she's proud. Her boy's screams will bring rain for the crops. The burning comes next. Massive wooden cages filled with prisoners are set ablaze while the community dances around them. The victims' screams provide percussion for the sacred songs. Musicians with drums try to match the rhythm of the dying. The louder the screams, the faster the dancers spin, whirling in ecstasy. Then the Druids point at you. Your Roman mind breaks a little when you realise you're the grand finale. They tie you spread eagle between 2 massive oaks. Your arms and legs stretch so tight your joints pop. The head Druid approaches with a bronze knife that's been heating in the coals. The blade glows faintly red. He doesn't kill you quickly. That would ruin the conversation with the gods. The first cut opens your belly from ribs to groin. Precise, practiced, perfect. The heat cauterizes blood vessels as it cuts, keeping you from bleeding out. You feel your intestines spilling out like wet rope. Surprisingly heavy, surprisingly warm. They pull out your liver first, still connected to your body by blood vessels and tissue, lifting it high so everyone can see its colour. The gods say, 3 more harvests before the next war, the Druid announces, reading the organ like a book. Your kidney comes next. A harsh winter, but survivable. Then sections of intestines, unspooled like party streamers and draped over oak branches where they steam in the cold air. You remain conscious through it all because the Druids know exactly how to avoid killing you. They've been doing this for centuries. They stitch certain vessels closed. They avoid certain organs. They give you water mixed with stimulants to keep you alert. Your screams aren't just music. They're translation, turning your agony into divine messages. The altar beneath you has grooves worn into the stone from centuries of writhing bodies. Channels cut into the rock direct your blood into sacred pools where druids wash their hands between prophecies, believing your life force enhances their vision. Your death takes 4 hours. When you finally die, they leave your gutted corpse hanging as an offering. Ravens will feed on your organs for weeks, each piece of flesh carrying your screams to the other world like a letter to the gods. The Romans burned every sacred grove they could find and salted the earth. Soldiers reported that nothing would grow there for decades. The soil itself had absorbed too much human suffering to support life. But the Celts weren't the only ones who turned death into theatre. What you're about to discover is what Rome did when they decided to show the Britons what real brutality looked like. You're a Roman soldier captured during a raid on Celtic territory, and the Druids have just selected you for their most sacred ceremony. They call it the threefold death, and you're about to discover why Celtic prisoners would rather fall on their own swords than face what's coming. Your armour has been stripped away, your body painted with blue spirals and animal symbols, while the entire Celtic community gathers around the sacred bog. Children sit on their parents' shoulders for a better view. The Druids explain what's about to happen with religious reverence. 3 deaths, each one claiming you, while you remain conscious, to experience all of them. Your triple suffering will open a portal to the other world, carrying their prayers directly to their gods. One death for the sky, one for the earth, one for the water. You get to experience them all. They position you at the edge of the black bog water, hands bound behind your back, with rope soaked in human fat to make it stronger. The first druid raises a ritual club weighted with lead. You can see dents in it from previous skulls. You try to duck, but Celtic warriors hold you steady as the club crashes into the back of your skull with a wet crack that echoes across the bog like thunder. Your vision explodes into stars, then darkness creeps in from the edges. Your legs turn to water and you collapse, but you're still conscious. That's the skill of it. Blood pours down your neck, warm and thick, while your brain swells inside your cracked skull. The crowd murmurs approvingly. The first death has been delivered perfectly. Stunned, but not dead, the gods are pleased. While you're dazed and helpless, tasting copper in your mouth from internal bleeding, they slip a hemp rope around your throat. Not just any rope, this one's been used before. You can feel the grooves worn into it from other necks. The garrote tightens slowly, deliberately, like a snake constricting its prey. Your windpipe collapses with a sound like stepping on a reed. You gasp desperately, but no air comes. Your face turns purple, then black. Blood vessels burst in your eyes, turning them red. Your tongue swells and protrudes like a fat purple slug. But they know exactly when to stop, right at the edge, where darkness starts to take you. They ease the pressure just enough to keep you conscious. Your throat is crushed, making wet clicking sounds when you try to breathe. But you're alive, aware, able to feel everything as they move to the third death. The bronze knife appears in your peripheral vision, not gleaming, but dull and stained from frequent use. The druid doesn't hesitate. One smooth motion across your throat, opening your carotid artery in a spray that arcs 6 feet through the air. The crowd cheers as your blood paints patterns in the morning light. You feel your life draining away with each heartbeat. Pump, spray, like a wineskin with a hole in it. The cold shock of the bog water as they push you in actually brings you back to alertness. The acidic water burns your wounds while your own blood clouds your vision. You're drowning in bog water while bleeding out while suffocating from your crushed windpipe. A triple death perfectly orchestrated. The entire process takes 12 minutes. The druids have perfected the timing over centuries. Blow, strangle, cut, submerge, each step calculated to maximize your suffering while keeping you aware of every sensation. Above the water, the crowd celebrates. Children throw flowers into your blood-stained water. Lilies for luck, oak leaves for strength. Mothers dab your blood on their babies' foreheads, believing your Roman suffering will protect their children from harm. Your body sinks into the acidic bog, joining other Roman prisoners who've suffered the threefold death. The bog water preserves everything. Your painted skin, your expression of agony, even the rope still embedded in your throat. 2,000 years from now, archaeologists will find you and call you Lindo Man or Tollen. You're a Roman prisoner of war, and the Celtic warriors are dragging you towards something that makes your blood freeze in your veins. It's a massive wooden statue, 30 feet tall, woven from oak branches and willow, shaped like a man. But it's not empty, it's screaming, because packed inside its arms, legs and torso are dozens of living people, and the whole thing is about to be set on fire. This is the Wicker Man, Celtic Thanksgiving, where you're not giving thanks, you're giving everything. The druids explain your fate with the excitement of children showing off a new toy. You've been selected for their greatest offering to the gods. Your death by fire, combined with the other prisoners stuffed inside this wooden giant, will ensure good harvests and victory in war. They actually seem to think they're doing you a favour. You get to be part of something bigger than yourself, literally inside something bigger than yourself. Celtic warriors shove you up a rope ladder toward the statue's torso. The ladder sways sickeningly. It's slick with sweat from the prisoners who climbed it before you. Inside the chest cavity, other Roman prisoners are already packed like dried fish in a merchant's barrel. Their faces are masks of terror and resignation. Some are praying to Jupiter. Others have pissed themselves. One man has chewed through his own tongue and is choking on blood. As sunset approaches, the Druids begin their circuit around the Wicker Man. They're splashing the framework with oil rendered from human fat, previous sacrifices contributing to future ones, an economy of death. The smell makes you gag. It's sweet and wrong, like pork cooked in perfume. The crowd begins to sing harvest songs. Happy songs. Songs about grain growing tall and cattle growing fat. To them, your screaming death is just agricultural investment. Your fertilizer that screams. The torch appears, carried by a child. It's considered good luck for the youngest to light the fire. She can't be more than 6, blonde hair in Celtic braids, and she's smiling as she touches flaming to oil-soaked wood. Panic explodes inside the Wicker Man. The prisoner next to you tries to bite through the wicker bars, breaking his teeth on the hardened wood. Another man dislocates his own shoulder, trying to squeeze through a gap the size of your fist. The flames race up the oil-soaked wood. The heat hits first. A wall of it that makes your eyes water and your throat close. Smoke fills the hollow statue, black and choking. You can't breathe without scorching your lungs. Every breath is like swallowing fire. The prisoner pressed against you goes limp. Suffocated before the flames even reach him. Lucky bastard. Through the smoke and your own screaming, you hear the Celtic crowd cheering. They're applauding particularly loud shrieks like it's a good note in a symphony. Children are dancing, mimicking the writhing of burning prisoners. But here's something the Celts didn't expect. One Roman practice would make their Wicker Man look almost merciful. Because when Rome decided to send a message, they didn't burn you in a cage. They made you into the entertainment itself. You're a Roman legionary, and for the first time in this list, you're not the victim, you're the executioner. When the Britons dared to rise up against your colonial projects, Rome decided to teach them what real savagery looks like. It's 61 AD, and you're standing in the aftermath of the Battle of Watling Street, where General Suetonius Paulinus has just crushed Boudicca's rebellion. Your commanding officer's orders are crystal clear: no quarter. Not for warriors, not for women, not for children. Every Briton who supported the rebellion dies today. Every family member, every sympathiser, every person who dared to dream that Rome could bleed. You look across the battlefield at what remains of Boudicca's army. Most are women and children who followed their warriors to what they thought would be glorious freedom. Now they're about to become the largest mass murder in British history. And you're going to make it happen. You advance through the Celtic camp in perfect formation, stabbing anything that moves. You watch a fellow soldier corner a Celtic family. Father already dead, mother shielding 3 small children. She begs in broken Latin, offers golden talks, promises to show where rebels buried Roman gold. Your comrade laughs. The killing goes on for 6 hours. Your sword arm burns from the constant stabbing motion, thrust, twist, withdraw, repeat. Blood soaks into the ground so thick it creates a red mud that sucks at your sandals. By sunset, 80,000 Britons lie dead. Entire family lines erased, whole villages depopulated. The rebellion hasn't just been defeated, it's been deleted from existence, along with everyone who might remember it fondly. Many legionaries can't eat meat for weeks afterward. The smell of cooking pork triggers memories of burning British flesh. Others develop twitches, flinching whenever they hear children cry. You personally will never be able to look at mud without seeing it red. This massacre becomes a warning carved in British flesh. Resist Rome and watch everything you love die screaming. But at least for most, this slaughter was quick. For special enemies who'd embarrassed Rome personally, death became a theatrical production. You're a British rebel captured after raiding a Roman settlement, and you've been dragged to the amphitheatre in Londinium. But you're not facing Roman soldiers or gladiators. You're about to be fed to a lion while your own countrymen, Britons who've submitted to Roman rule, cheer for your death from the stands. They shove you into the arena wearing nothing but a loincloth, your hands bound behind your back with leather cords. The crowd roars as you stumble onto the sand, and here's what breaks your heart. Half the crowd looks like you. Britons with Roman haircuts, British faces shouting Latin curses, your own people screaming for your death louder than the Romans, desperate to prove their loyalty. The gates creak open with deliberate drama. They oil them specifically to make that sound. And death emerges on 4 legs. A Barbary lion from North Africa, 800 pounds of muscle and hunger, specifically imported to kill people like you. Its mane is matted with dried blood and bits of flesh from yesterday's victims. You try to run, but where? The arena walls are 12 feet high, polished smooth. The lion doesn't chase you. It doesn't need to. It pads after you at a leisurely pace, letting you exhaust yourself. When it pounces, it's almost lazy. A casual leap that drives you face first into the sand. You feel ribs crack like twigs as 800 pounds lands on your back. Claws designed to disembowel zebras open 4 parallel wounds from your shoulder to your hip. The lion flips you over with one massive paw, almost gentle, like a cat with a mouse. Now you're face to face with it. Its breath smells like rotting meat and death. Its eyes are yellow and utterly without mercy. You're not a person to this creature. You're lunch. You try to fight back with your bound hands, punching its massive head. The crowd laughs. The lion seems annoyed, like you're interrupting its meal. When you finally die, British slaves, perhaps former warriors themselves, drag your mangled remains away while fresh sand covers your blood. The crowd is already calling for the next victim. Another rebel. Another lion. Another afternoon of proving that British resistance ends in British teeth tearing British flesh. But being eaten alive in public was actually merciful compared to what happened if you personally insulted the emperor. You're a British chieftain who made the fatal mistake of insulting Emperor Tiberius during peace negotiations. You called him a diseased old goat in front of his entire court. Now you're about to discover that when you offend a Roman emperor personally, death becomes an art form designed to maximize your suffering. Roman guards drag you to the edge of a towering cliff that drops 300 feet into the sea. The rocks below are jagged volcanic teeth, stained rust brown from the blood of previous victims who've taken this final journey. You can see bones down there, white fragments scattered like broken pottery. But this isn't going to be quick. Tiberius has perfected a method that turns death into a 3-act play, and you're the star, the audience, and the critic all at once. The emperor himself watches from a marble terrace, reclining on silk cushions, eating grapes. And then the real fun begins. The torture specialists arrive with their tools displayed on silver trays like surgical instruments. They're artists, really. Each one has a specialty. The finger breaker starts, not smashing, but bending each finger backward until you hear the wet snap of tendons tearing before the bone breaks. 10 fingers, 10 individual symphonies of agony. The joint specialist takes over, systematically dislocating your shoulders with practiced twists that make your arms hang like a puppet with cut strings. Your hips come next, popped out of their sockets with sounds like wine corks. You can't stand, can't crawl, can only writhe like a worm while Tiberius critiques the technique. They bring out the heated bronze rods, not red hot, that would be too quick, but just hot enough to blister and bubble your skin without causing fatal shock. They write words on your flesh. Traitor across your chest, barbarian down your spine. Tiberius keeps a secretary nearby, documenting everything. Note that the Briton's screams peaked at the third finger, he dictates. But the hip dislocation produced the most interesting convulsions. Recommend trying the hips earlier next time. Tiberius yawns. The ultimate insult. You bore him now. Time for Act 2. Guards drag your broken body to the cliff's edge. 300 feet of freefall. Enough time to see your death approaching, to watch the rocks growing larger, to realise that even this isn't the end. The impact should kill you. Would kill you if Tiberius hadn't perfected his system. You hit the water instead of the rocks. Carefully calculated trajectory. And somehow you're still conscious. Bones shattered, organs ruptured, but alive. That's when you see them. Roman sailors in boats, armed with poles and oars, grinning like children at a festival. This is Act 3, the bone-breaking finale. They swarm your floating wreckage of a body, taking turns like it's a party game. One sailor brings his oar down on your skull, not hard enough to kill, just enough to fracture. Another targets your ribs, counting them out loud as he breaks them. 1, 2, 3 exclamation mark. The crowd in the boats cheers each successful strike. When you finally die, your corpse is so thoroughly destroyed that they have to collect you with nets. Your bones are donated to the medical school in Rome, where students spend years trying to count how many fractures you sustained. They stop counting at 300. But even this elaborate imperial sadism was merciful compared to the fate that awaited those claimed by forces darker than any emperor. You're a Roman soldier who came to Britain to build an empire, and you're dying on a Celtic battlefield far from home. Celtic iron has opened your belly, and your intestines are spreading across British mud like pale tree roots. But your agony isn't ending with death, it's just beginning. Because the Morrígan has claimed you for her spectral feast, and your family back in Rome will never, ever be able to save your soul. Your body lies cold on the muddy British ground, rain washing your blood into soil. Celtic warriors are stripping your armour, but they avoid your corpse like it carries plague. They know what's coming. They've seen it before. The crows are already gathering, but these aren't normal birds. The supernatural shriek splits the grey British sky, like the world tearing. Above the battlefield, a massive crow descends, not flying but manifesting, its wings dripping shadow like oil. Its eyes aren't just red, they're portals to somewhere that shouldn't exist. This is the Morrígan, the triple goddess of war, prophecy, and death. And she's come to claim what Roman eagles cannot protect. Your spirit rises from your corpse, and for a moment you think you're free. You can see the ethereal road to the underworld, the path to Roman afterlife where your ancestors wait. You start toward it, then the chain manifests around your throat. The pull is irresistible, like being dragged by a team of horses. Your spectral form is yanked away from everything familiar, everything Roman, everything that might offer salvation. You try to pray to Jupiter, to Mars, to your household gods. But your words turn to crow cries in your throat. The Morrigan's laughter drowns out Roman prayers like ocean waves drowning candle flames. The spectral feast materializes around you. Not gradually, but suddenly you're there. You've always been there. You will always be there. Tables stretching beyond vision, set with thousands of severed heads. But these aren't dead heads. Every mouth moves. Every eye tracks movement. Every consciousness trapped in bone and rotting flesh, aware and suffering. Your head manifests at the table, though your body still lies on the battlefield. You're in two places at once, dying in Britain and already dead at the feast. Time doesn't work right here. Linear existence is a luxury you've lost. Around you sit legionaries who've been trapped for decades, centuries, forever. Men from legions that haven't existed for generations whisper in archaic Latin. A soldier from Caesar's first expedition to Britain sits beside a man who won't die for another 100 years. All of them conscious, all of them suffering, all of them yours now, brothers in damnation. "Welcome to forever," whispers a centurion, whose eyes have been weeping blood for 80 years. She feeds on our homesickness. Every memory of Rome makes her stronger. Back in the living world, your mother will receive word that you died bravely. She'll make offerings to ensure your peaceful passage to the afterlife. She'll die believing you're with the ancestors. But her prayers scatter like dust in wind, never reaching the Celtic shadows where you're imprisoned. The true horror begins when the Morrígan sends you back as her harbinger. You manifest at Roman camps, compelled to wash the armour of soldiers about to die. You try to warn them, scream at them to run, to abandon Britain, to save themselves. But the goddess twists your words into death omens. Your appearance becomes their doom. Your best friend Marcus sees you at a stream, washing his helmet in water that runs red without sauce. You try to tell him about the ambush tomorrow, the druids waiting in the woods. Instead, your cursed mouth says, "Death comes with dawn." He dies exactly as you foresaw, your warning becoming his prophecy. You watch Roman Britain from your prison between worlds. You see every Roman death, taste every Roman fear, feed on every Roman scream. The Morrígan forces you to feast on your own people's suffering. Their terror becomes your wine, their dying gasps your bread. Centuries pass, or minutes, or both. You watch Rome rise to glory and crumble to ruin. You see the last legion leave Britain. You watch the Saxon invasions, the Norman conquest, the empire your people built becoming archaeology. And through it all, you remain, a Roman ghost serving Celtic darkness. Modern archaeologists sometimes find your altar offerings, coins, weapons, jewellery thrown into British waters by soldiers trying to appease whatever took their friends. They catalogue them as ritual deposits without understanding these were desperate attempts to buy back Roman souls from British gods. The other heads at the feast tell you the worst truth. There is no escape, no rescue, no end. The Morrigan's realm exists outside time, beyond death, beneath reality. You're not dead enough to rest, not alive enough to die. You're trapped in the space between heartbeats, forever foreign, forever suffering, forever feeding the goddess who collects Roman agony like wine. 2,000 years from now you'll still be there, still washing phantom armour, still warning doomed soldiers, still remembering Rome with a homesickness that burns like acid, still serving the enemies you died fighting in a hell your gods cannot reach, paying forever for the crime of dying on British soil. The Morrigan's laughter echoes across eternity, fed by 10,000 Roman souls who learned too late that some territories should never be conquered, not because of the land, but because of what claims the conquered when they fall. 10 ways to die that reveal the brutal reality of life in Roman Britain. Whether you were Celtic or Roman, conqueror or conquered, these terrifying deaths were just part of existing in a world where human life was worth less than iron, and gods demanded payment in screams. Remember that burning Wicker man from the beginning? That screaming wooden giant stuffed with living people? That was someone's religious service, or someone's answered prayer. Someone's good harvest, purchased with human fat rendering in flames. Both sides, Celtic and Roman, turned suffering into art, murder into methodology, agony into afternoon entertainment. The Celts did it for gods who demanded blood. The Romans did it for an empire that demanded submission. Both convinced themselves that spectacular death served spectacular purposes, and they all died believing their side was civilized. If this journey into forbidden history disturbed you, good. That means you're still human. Smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, because we're just getting started uncovering the truths they tried to bury. Drop a comment with the death that will haunt your dreams tonight. I read every single one. Share this video if you think others need to know what really happened in ancient Britain. Some truths are too important to keep hidden, no matter how much they disturb us. Until next time, when we'll dig up more secrets they tried to bury forever. Try to have sweet dreams, though after tonight I doubt you will.